I spent just 2 hours vibe coding a complete micro SaaS from scratch. The coolest part is I was able to make $10,000 promoting this in just 48 hours. And in this video, I'm gonna break down my entire 3-step sequence for coming up with really good ideas that people actually want, for building that application. And I'm gonna pull back the curtain on exactly how I was able to get 49 people to pay me $199 for access to this software. So you're gonna see actually what it takes to make money from micro SaaS. I'm gonna break it all down. Let's go ahead and hop in. All right, so first I gotta show you guys what actually happened, because it's honestly been kind of a wild 48 hours. To be straight honest, I know everybody tells you this, all your favorite gurus, they always say, I wasn't expecting this. I genuinely wasn't expecting this. I thought maybe there's something, and I definitely wasn't expecting it to happen this quickly, but we're gonna hop into my computer here, and I'm actually gonna show you guys exactly what took place in the last 48 hours and how I was able to do this, and hopefully throughout the course of this video, allow you to replicate the results the same way that I was. We're now gonna be looking at my screen, so you guys can take a look at this. What I'm showing you right now is users. So we're gonna get into the nuts and bolts of this, so don't worry, but I wanted to show you guys why you should pay attention. You can see right here, this platform is showing 49 users. So let me explain. Every single week, I host a free training call. I just invite anybody who wants to come. I make content on social media. Here's a link, come attend. There's no agenda on these calls. I don't try to sell people on these calls. I'm literally using it as a sounding board for my ideas. So one of the best things that I can recommend to anybody is, if you're going into a niche, go join the communities in that niche and invite them to attend your free weekly calls that you just host on Zoom, and create a little micro community of people who attend. I've been doing this for a while, and every single week, without promoting it to my email list, without running ads, I get anywhere between 60 to 100 people to show up to these weekly calls. It's every single week, it's the same time every week, and honestly, the same people show up every single week. So for a month, I went about talking about this new thing that I'm absolutely obsessed with, which is vibe coding and building tools. From a marketer's perspective, I see it as the new frontier. I see it as the great leveler, if you will, where now creative people can build things. Whereas before, all we could do is like summarize things. We could give you our information, but nobody wants more information. They want execution. They want tools that help them do the thing, not more information on what they need to do. I see this being a huge environment for us, where now we can actually give people tools, and it just starts with ideas. So I wanted to prove that quickly you could build a micro SaaS, a micro software that people actually want, and that could actually make you money very quickly. And I was able to do that inside of 7 days, but it only took me about 3 full hours of work. And I'm gonna explain this, but to start, I wanna show you guys on my screen, you can see 49 users. Each one of these users paid $199. Now, it's a little disorganized, but let me show you guys in here. You can see this chart. I had no users as of May 11th. I was the only user. Today is May 15th. And you can see on May 12th, I got 24 users, May 13th, 19 users, and today it's 9:50 a.m. and I got 3 more users. Every one of these users paid $199 lifetime. This is a thesis that I think could be worth millions of dollars for those of you guys that listen to it, pay attention, and actually execute on this. Software is changing. Software is changing because we now all have the ability to make it. And you're gonna see an example of that here in this video. But the reason, what's actually important to understand about software changing is the normal way that you run software and that you make money off software is you charge users monthly to use the platform, and that platform lives exactly how it is. But with AI, the actual thing that you're selling is the AI brain. You're selling this like automation system. So here's the major change that's gonna happen to software. And by the way, I ran a software company for 8 years. I sold that company in 2023. I'm very ingrained in what it takes to run and manage a software company, and it's just different. And the reason it's different is because now the only fee that you're going to incur isn't the building of the software. That can be done for less than $100, and you're gonna see that in this video. The costs you're gonna incur are AI credits. If you're in the AI space, you know this is where things could get expensive. Well, there's a way to trick that, because you can look at what AI credits cost you, and you can game plan to make sure that you never end up paying more for the credits that somebody uses in your app. So that's kind of what I had in this mindset, was like, what if I sell a lifetime license so they can use my software forever, but they're capped at 2,000 credits, 3,000 credits? Well, those 3,000 credits are gonna cost me $6. I'm willing to lose that in access to, wait, they can pay a one-time fee for software now, so they don't have to pay monthly. Buyers like this. They want to pay a one-time fee and be able to use the tool as much as they need to, up to a certain limit. I obviously can't go broke, so if they're using the software and it uses 20 million credits, they're obviously going to have to pay for that. But so now, software, you charge per credit, you don't charge for access. Access should be free because it costs you $40 to build this stuff. So we had 3 users today, 19 users yesterday, 24 users the day before, sign up for a $199 lifetime access to this software, where I limit them on the amount of credits that they can use. And you guys can see here, I'm just showing some transactions so that you can actually see this. This unknown product here is the product that I created, and we've got 214 here, 199 here, 211, 210, because with taxes and fees and where somebody's currency is, it changes. But you can see we ended up getting 49 users. Doing the math on that, that's just short of $10,000 in the last 48 hours. So what we need to do now is figure out, okay, Travis, sounds great. How do I do that? How can I benefit from it? So let's walk through what I believe to be the 3 essential pieces to building anything online in the moment that we're in right now with AI, with tools, with vibe coding. So we're gonna start with step 1. Step 1 is where a lot of people get stuck. And it's actually kind of funny because the tool I'm gonna show you here in a second helps you get unstuck. It's actually the tool that I sold this last week to make this money. Because if you've ever had an idea and you've thought to yourself, I just don't know how to build it. Is it a good idea? Do people actually want this? Does anybody need it? What's actually happening in that space? Well, I asked my audience on that call, does anybody struggle with this? Does anybody struggle with the ability to take a concept and turn it into a real idea? Wouldn't you like to have somebody you could bounce ideas off of? And everybody said yes. So I thought, okay, that's good enough justification. There seems to be a problem here. Can I build a solution for it? So please remember, I'm making all of these videos, not just so that you can listen to what I say, but that you can see what I actually do. And I think that's really important. Pay way more attention to what I'm doing than what I'm saying, because I'm gonna do the best that I can to describe this, but the actual mechanism behind this is what you're gonna get the most value from. So I had an audience of people that were attending this weekly call. I was explaining these 3 steps of exactly how to build an app that actually makes you money. And step 1 is your idea. And I was outlining the 5 methods that I use to create valuable ideas, which if you want to know what those 5 ways are, I'm not going to cover them in this video. I'm going to be making a completely separate video for that. So make sure you guys subscribe to the channel so that you can see when I post that, because I will cover all 5 of the best places that you can come up with really good ideas that could lead to $1 million businesses. So I was covering that, and almost everybody on the call was like, I think I have this idea. I need to flush it out. I'm not quite clear, so on and so forth. And so I thought, gosh, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be something that I could build to help them with that. Because I know when you have an idea, there's a bunch of different ways that you can validate that idea. You can look for Facebook groups and see, are there Facebook groups on your topic with 10,000 or more people in it? You can go to Reddit and you can look for subreddit forums where people are talking about this industry, and you can look for what's being asked for and what's being upvoted, which means other people also like that idea. I can also go on TikTok Creator Insights. If you're not familiar with that, you should get familiar with that. It's a platform in the TikTok app where you can actually see what are people searching for in TikTok. You can go, you can put your keyword in, it'll show you all the different searches, it'll show you all the content that's ranking for that search term, and it'll even give you a script for how to make content on that topic. If you have a search term that has a decent amount of traffic, now you've got the ability to actually build something for this space. So once I was actually covering all of that, I thought, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and build this thing. And I wanted to prove that you could build these micro SaaSes very quick and on a very limited budget. In the AI world, there's a million different ways to build software now. There's probably 20 different platforms. In the case of this video, I use a platform called Lovable. Lovable is sort of your all-in-one box for super quick, super efficient micro SaaS that requires very little funding on your part. You don't have to worry about running out of credits for the most part. You can build a tool in about 40 bucks. And I think that's what it costs to start with Lovable. I set up an account in Lovable and I said, we're gonna build this software out. And so now what I wanna do is I actually wanna show you on my screen what the platform is that I actually built. So what you're looking at on my screen right now is a live version of what I call my ingestion engine. And no, I did not spend any time coming up with an idea. The name sucks, the logo sucks, and it's just a subdomain of one of my other existing domains. I didn't even have to buy a website for this. I already had one, and I just attached a subdomain to it. This is not like, oh, well, what about SOC 2 compliance? If that's you, leave now. I'm talking about micro SaaS, quick execution, build an idea, help people use that idea, and make money. That's what we're trying to get to in this point. You can build the advanced stuff later. For now, build something that works. So I initially came up with the idea by basically saying, look, I want to create a living brain. I consume a lot of information. I watch a lot of YouTube videos. I read a lot of PDFs. I read a lot of blogs. I read a lot of Substacks. And the problem with the human brain is we read it and then we forget it. We can't use it the next time that we need it. But AI doesn't have a human brain. It can actually keep this information forever. So I said, I wanted to build just for myself a centralized brain where everything that I think is valuable, I can store it in this brain. And that's what you're seeing on my screen is a bunch of YouTube videos that I've really liked. So every time I like one, I just come over here to YouTube, I put in the URL and I tag it. And you can see it's connecting things that are similar. So it's got little sections. And then down here, I can actually talk to my brain. I can have an AI chat. It knows all of the information that I've uploaded. It transcribed all the videos. And I can go, hey, I'm really thinking about building an app for this. What are your thoughts? And it's trained on my techniques so that it knows what could actually be a really good product. But that's not where things get really cool and fun. Where things get really cool and fun is when we get into our Discover system. So not only now do I have this platform where I can throw in ideas and I can keep that as a central brain, when you get over 10 sources, which you'll see on my screen, you can synthesize those sources. And what synthesizing does is it takes all those sources and goes, hey, you're really into gardening. Why don't you build this? And it comes up with an idea for what you can actually build, which is really freaking cool because now you turn all of your consumption into a business product. And that can be done like that with this app. So I was just building something that solved the problem that I knew a lot of people in my audience already had. I built this because I also have this problem because, again, I have a human brain and I forget a lot of stuff. And if I ever want an idea, I can go to this Discover tab. Let's just say I just want something that can have a really good chance of making me money. And you can see in here what we do is I built in a trend searching system where it scours the internet and it looks for topics that are really bubbling right now. So you can see in the trending Reddit area, it goes through Reddit and it searches, in this case, it searched the entrepreneurial subreddit. And it found SaaS niche radar. Indie hackers and SaaS founders struggle to identify underserved SaaS niches, leading to launch products in a saturated market. Got upvoted 87 times. I could hit launch game plan, and our platform's going to build a full game plan for what you could build to service that market. Now, you can see we've got a bunch of other things in here, freelance, marketing, small business, Notion. So a robust Notion Google Calendar two-way sync. 48 upvotes. I'm pretty sure that would be pretty easy to build. So this gives us ideas. But what's even better is now inside of this, I can just type whatever I want. So I could go gardening and growing herbs in your kitchen. And this app will now go do research. So it actually utilizes another AI platform that has access to the internet and it has research capabilities. So it's essentially assigning an AI robot to go out to the internet and figure out what should we build in the gardening and growing herbs in our kitchen space. I'm not here to even talk about this software. I just wanted to show you. I built this in $40 in Lovable by having a chat with Lovable. And just to show you guys what that looks like, the way that Lovable works is you'll start on a main home screen and you just type in your idea. This is where things get really cool. And this is where I kind of cheated. My most recent idea, I actually built this off of a game plan that was created using this exact same system. So the game plans inside of our platform, what they do is you can see here, like this is a legal dispute scanner. So what this does is scans your credit report and finds legally disputable errors in minutes, but it gives you a full strategic action plan. And this is everything laid out from what we're building, the target user, core user journey, information architecture, page-by-page specifications. It even gives you mock-ups of what the software would look like if you built it, all the way down to a founder's launch, positioning and pricing, visual brand starter, sales and conversion kit, a distribution path to get your first 1,000 users. It breaks all of this down for you and gives you a literal roadmap, a game plan. Well, I created that game plan using AI, and then I fed that game plan to Lovable. And this is what I found to be unbelievable, is like, it already has all this information now. I just download this as a PDF, which you can see on my screen. I can upload that to Lovable. I can upload that to other platforms like Base 44. I can upload that to ChatGPT. I can upload that to Manus, Claude Code, and it now knows exactly what to build. I don't have to be a SaaS expert because the game plan is already executed. So with Lovable, all you're doing is chatting. You're literally using the platform. You're chatting with it like, hey, fix this. Hey, change that. Hey, I want to see this. And you can see here, this is my entire chat history. So this software was built in, I want to say, like a solid 2 hours of my time. And a majority of that time is just the little nuanced stuff that you're going to have to do when you're building a software, which is like connecting your Stripe account, coming up with a pricing strategy, things like that. But when you have a game plan, it already has all that in there. It took me about 2 hours of talking with AI back and forth to figure out exactly what I wanted this tool to be and to get it functioning to the point where it actually works. Now, here's where I really wanted to cover the 3 phases that we go through when building these tools. Phase number 1 is coming up with your idea. Obviously, in this point, I actually created a tool that does that for people, which is kind of meta, I guess. That's phase number 1, coming up with your idea and getting clear on that idea. Phase number 2 is actually building the tool, which in most cases, if you're just starting out, you're brand new, I highly suggest using a platform like Lovable, a platform like Base 44 if you're building an iPhone app, a platform like Replit. These are ones where you pay a monthly fee for X amount of credits or X amount of chat history, and then it can actually build the first iteration of your app. And this entire app that you're seeing on my screen was built without having to pay more for credits. So whatever my base level membership is at Lovable, I was able to build this entire tool in, I think it was about 40 bucks. And I haven't even had access to it for 3 full weeks yet. So quickly identifying a product, quickly identifying an idea for a market that would actually want it. Then I went in and built it. Here's one of the biggest complications you're gonna run into, which is wildly overthinking, especially if you're a creator and you're somebody who's scratching your own niche. That is one of the biggest issues that I see builders running into right now is they build a software like I did, and then they keep having these like, whoa, but I could add this. Oh, but I could add this. I should add this feature. Nobody's gonna want it if it doesn't have this thing. That becomes a problem because now you're leaving the MVP, which is your minimum viable product. You're now getting something that somebody could benefit from, but of course it's not the best. So you keep adding and you keep adding. And now a week of development time turns into a month of development time, turns into 3 months of development time, and you still don't have any users. That is a problem. That is what is, I think, plaguing the entire building industry right now is you're building and adding and adding and adding, and you're not sticking to a core set of what's the first thing I'm gonna release. One of the best ways to overcome that is to build your audience first so that they know something is coming. Building a pre-launch list, hosting a weekly webinar, making content about the space, showing people publicly what you're actually building, and seeing if there's anybody interested in getting that when it's released. If I can make a suggestion, it is when you go about building one of these, have a core MVP in mind so that you don't advance it a lot beyond that. Get your first 1,000 users in the app, then you can take their feedback and make the app way better. And that's the number 1 way that you want to grow so that you can get some money coming in. In my case, when it was coming to building this app, I could obviously charge monthly, and I do see a future where I could do that, but I love the idea of one-time price. One-time lifetime price, and then let them pay more for credits. So if you can build a tool like this is my suggestion, make the app free unless they need credits, or make it a one-time fee for the software, and then they pay for credits over a certain number. In my case, I launched a lifetime package of this. They get 2,000 credits, which I did the math with Lovable. I asked it, how far can somebody go on 2,000 credits? And it literally said like they can do 30 different game plans. Because this SaaS is engineered to be something that you use 1 or 2 times, it just does a lot of heavy lifting for you. Nobody should be using this for 30 different business ideas. You don't need 30 different business ideas, you need 2. Go develop those 2. But for 199 bucks, you're getting a really thought out game plan for that idea, which is amazing. Can you use it for 20 ideas? Sure. Would I suggest it? Maybe not. But maybe there's somebody out there who works as an agency and they wanna sell these game plans to somebody else, so they need a lot of them. Well, you could just buy more credits. This makes it a lot easier to sell so that when you do have an audience of people that are interested, you can say, hey, for $199, I'm doing a founders only membership. Eventually I'll sell this for $299, but right now you get a discount and you're getting 2,000 credits versus it being free to try, but you have to pay for credits where I make a higher margin. My goal is make that MVP, release it to a founders membership, and just see what happens. If you can do that quickly as possible, now you're gonna be getting some capital in. And even if your first launch only gets you 1 or 2 sales, that's okay, you've proven concept. What I would do is obsess over those 1 or 2 clients. Talk to them directly, reach out to them. How are you using it? What else would you like to see? What else can I build? And then you just go into a platform like Lovable and you add it. Now I wanna put a big caveat on all this, and that is, if you're trying to build something that's like the next Salesforce, you're not gonna build that in Lovable. That's why I love the idea of calling this micro SaaS. What I'm doing is I'm servicing a very deliberate market, and I'm doing that with a very simple product. There are people making hundreds of thousands of dollars a month building micro SaaS applications, either Apple iPhone devices or SaaS products that solve one small problem. I was doing some research recently. I saw there's a guy who built a YouTube scripting app. It's a software built in Lovable, and all it does is it has an AI that's trained on how to make good scripts for YouTube. That's all it does. He makes $40,000 a month on that app. Now, I can just go to ChatGPT and get a YouTube script. I can just go to Manus and get a YouTube script. Why would I pay for this one? Because it has the authority of being the YouTube scripting app, right? Because he put that brain in that doesn't just know everything. ChatGPT and Manus knows everything. He trained a brain specifically on the right modalities for creating good, viral content in your niche. So of course, people are willing to spend $40 a month for that. Well, 1,000 users later, which is not a lot, let's be honest, anybody can build any app and reach 1,000 people. That's what can actually happen when you focus on building an MVP, getting that minimum viable product out, and attracting those people into your audience. And so getting back to our third phase, the most important phase, because I'm here to tell you right now, building these tools is only gonna get easier. And right now, I am a completely non-technical founder. I have never successfully written a single line of code. Don't know how. I can copy and paste stuff, but I can chat with AI and I can tell it, I'd like to see it do this. AI can now build that for you. So with building getting easier, the first 2 phases of building a successful business are now easier than they've ever been. Coming up with ideas is just paying attention to the market. Building the actual tool is just finding the tool that you like and you build into, which again, I love Lovable. I like Base 44. I build a lot of applications in Perplexity Computer. I built several of them in Claude Code. They all have different advantages. And we'll do a video on that in the future as to which one is kind of a little bit better. But the third phase is where everybody's gonna get separation. This is where you actually build a business, which is distribution. You could build the coolest app in the world, but if nobody knows about it, it's not gonna make you any money. But you can also build the most simple, dumb, basic application that you're like, nobody would pay for this, but it solves a problem for 5,000 people, and you can get 5,000 people to use it and pay you for it, and pay you happily, especially if you have the right systems in place for, pricing it and launching it and things of that nature. And distribution is where everybody gets lost. I think we live in probably the most advantageous time in history for building a SaaS, building a micro SaaS and getting users into it, because social media is at this really interesting place right now where followers don't matter. The actual content structure does. So you can start a channel with no followers and go viral today if you have the right content. So distribution is key. Millions of ways to distribute things. We're gonna be making a lot more content on that when it comes to how do we actually distribute it. In my case, what I did, and hopefully this is helpful for people out there, is I was just very deliberate the month leading up to when I was about to launch this tool. Number one, I came out with a date in mind when I wanted to release it, which again, it's only took me 3 days. So it was like from idea to delivering it was 2 hours and 3 days of my time. I had that in mind, but for the month leading up to it, I decided to build my audience. I invited people to free calls where we just talked about this stuff. We just game planned about it. Now they got to trust me. They got to see that I knew what I was talking about. And what I find so amazing is if you love a niche, you love an industry, let's say you spend 6 hours a week consuming content, learning the space, trying things. That's 6 hours that you can summarize into a 1-hour call and share all that knowledge with other people. So they don't have to spend that 6 hours. Now you have value. I've been teaching this for a long time. You don't actually have to create anything. The example that I use is museums make a lot of money. Museums make a lot of money, but they don't create anything. They curate experiences. They take all these other things that you could see separately and they bring them into one place. Well, couldn't you do that? Can't we all just consume a bunch of information and then say, okay, instead of everybody having to go and watch those 20 hours of YouTube videos that I watched and then put in that 10 hours of execution that I put in, what if I could just have a call where I explain all that stuff? I summarize it, I synthesize it into being something consumable. And you can build an audience doing that, where you get to be the one that spends all the time, learning the nitty-gritty. And in my case, in our software application that we were looking at before, this idea of growing herbs in your kitchen, right? Simple herb gardening thing. Well, you take that, you summarize all that information, and now you can share that on a weekly call with other people. And now when you release your app that helps people grow herbs in their kitchen, you've got a baseline of people who would be interested in it. It's one of the easiest ways, in my opinion. You don't have to worry about going viral. You can literally DM people that are already in existing communities and say, hey, I saw that you were also interested in gardening in your kitchen. I'm putting together a community where we talk about this. It's free to join. Click the link. And they register for your weekly calls, and some of them attend. So if you can focus, and if you're at all interested in any of this, if you can focus on those three areas and really oversimplify things, where number one, let's spend a little bit of time, maybe an hour, trying to identify what's my market. If I need an idea, where am I going to find this idea? Where am I going to see, do people actually want this? In my case, I obviously built a tool, which you'll see a link to below if you're interested in checking out what that does. Make sure you guys hit that link in the description. I'll send you over to a replay where I covered all of this live. You'll actually see the original call that I hosted when I sold it. You'll see this moment in there where I'm like, oh, you guys actually want a link to this? Like, I was just showing it live. And then people started asking in the chat, like, where can I get this? And I was like, okay, here's the link. I wasn't planning on doing this, but here it is. And that day we got 24 buyers, which was what, $4,800? So day one, $4,800 in lifetime. That was pretty great. Focus on coming up with the idea, then build that idea, but build the MVP of that idea. Don't try to build the most elaborate $1 million app. Build MVP, get base users, take their feedback, make it better. And then the third step, which is going to be your most important, and we'll have a lot more content talking about this. So if you haven't yet, hit subscribe, because you're going to want to see this stuff. Distribution. I find as a marketer, this is the most interesting, but it's also the biggest separator for everybody. I don't think everybody's going to be building. I think a lot of people will build. But even looking at the AI ecosystem right now, 88% of the entire world doesn't use AI at all. Doesn't use a free version of ChatGPT, right? So only 12% of the entire world is actually building anything. And a majority of that 12%, I think it's 8% or 9%, is using the free version of ChatGPT, and they're asking it questions. They're not building something for other people. I think the stat is somewhere close to 0.4% of all of the people on the planet are using a paid version of an AI. So we've got a huge advantage. So I don't think everybody's going to be building, but I do think there's going to be a lot more builders out there. The separator is not going to be, can I build the tool? You've already seen this is really easy. There's not a whole lot for me to show you us building. The real separator is going to be, how am I going to get people to this? And I look at it as a cycle. Build in public, show people what you're building, talk about what you're building, go into communities where the people who are going to benefit from your product already are, share content in there, become a part of that community. Then when you release your tool, you've got users who would actually take it. So I want this to serve as an example for all of you that you can start incredibly quickly. I went from idea to now roughly $10,000 in revenue in 48 hours. I released this product on Wednesday. It is now Friday. It hasn't even been 48 full hours and we're about $10,000 in revenue, because I focused on audience first, build a product for that audience, introduce them to that product, and even casually, they actually wanted it. If you're seeing this, there's a really good chance that you're interested in building something. I would urge you to get out there, build that thing, but build in public. Build in a way where you can share it with other people, so that you've got an audience ready for when this hits. And again, if you guys want to see what those methods are, we're going to be showing a bunch of different methods, so make sure you guys subscribe. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. I wish I could show you more complication on what it takes to actually build this stuff, but in general, it literally is just chatting with AI. So if you can talk with AI about what your idea is, it's pretty simple. There is obviously an even easier way, which is my ingestion engine. You go in, you hit the Discover tab, you type in whatever you're interested in, it gives you a game plan, you upload that game plan to whatever AI building platform you want, and you're off to the races. Again, building is not complicated. For the first time ever, it's unbelievable. Building is simple. it's distribution that matters the most. I'm gonna help you guys get that distribution. So what I wanna see you guys do, hopefully, go out, build your tools, make something epic. Feel free to comment in the comments here what you're building, what you have an idea for. I'd love to see what you guys are actually building, and then we can talk a little bit more in the future about how to distribute those ideas. So if you guys enjoyed, please do me a favor, just hit the like button. We're gonna be coming back with a bunch more content for you. Hopefully you guys liked it. We'll see you in the future.